This hour of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by my good friends at Advantage Gold. Advantage Gold is a 5-star rated gold company with one-of-a-kind customer service. And when it comes to gold and precious metals, Advantage Gold is the only company I'll work with. Call Advantage Gold today and make sure you let them know that Mark Levin sent you. And now, let's begin.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. He will be back with you tomorrow as he is celebrating the Jewish holiday today. And it is an honor to be here sitting with all of you on an important day. Anti-Semitism is on the rise, specifically on American college campuses. And I want you to understand how we got to the point where Jewish students are now being picked up and harassed at college campuses by their parents and being told by the universities they cannot keep them safe. I want you to understand how universities that have done great things in the past have now turned into hotbeds of cultural Marxism that is indoctrinating the young minds of students and fundamentally changing this country. They're also changing the universities. They have turned our universities into two different groups of people, the oppressors and the victims. And they define the Jews as the oppressors and the Palestinians, those that support Hamas and Hezbollah and support the horrific attacks on Israel, as the victims. And that is how they have gotten away with now creating a culture on college campuses that allows for this vicious anti-Semitism to reign on our college campuses. Now, let me just step back and explain to you why Democrats, and I give them credit, they are brilliant. Why do I say they're brilliant? They understood that if you fundamentally want to change a nation, you have to control the minds of only one generation. You can change a country in just one generation. And they understood that they could get control of our universities, and they understood that if they could get control of those universities and they could get control of the high schools and the junior highs and the entire public education system, you could fundamentally change this country into a Marxist, Socialist, or Communist nation. Now, yes, you would need a little help because, right, it would take quite a while to get one generation to actually be able to pull it off if you had a bunch of other sane people. How do you do that? It's actually very simple. You then import 20 million illegal immigrants who came from nations where they don't really have a problem with Marxism or socialism or communism, as long as the form they're getting here looks better than what they just left. You combine those two strategies together, and you can destroy the greatest country in the world, America, in just one generation. You import voters, and you give them amnesty, and then you take the most brilliant minds in America that go to our Ivy League universities, and you define the definition of what success looks like to say we support the Palestinians, and we tell you to hate all the Jews. We convince you that the Jews are the oppressors and the Palestinians are the victims of the oppressors, and then we allow you to attack those students. How bad is it? Parents are now coming and picking their kids up in the middle of the night and being attacked in their cars. Yes, this is happening. Students are getting text messages from their universities telling them they need to stay home. I'll give you an example. Quote, in response to the horrific scenes of anti-Semitism and harassment at and around campus, the Orthodox rabbi at Columbia University sent a WhatsApp message to more than 290 Jewish students recommending that they go home until it's safe again for them on college campus. This coming from the rabbi to all the Jewish students, the 290 plus Jewish students. What we are witnessing in and around campus is terrible, referring to Columbia University, and tragic. The events of the last few days, especially last night, have made it clear that Columbia University's public safety and the NYPD cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. It deeply pains me to say that I would strongly recommend you return home as soon as possible and remain home until the reality in and around campus has dramatically improved. It is not our job as Jews to ensure our own safety on campus. Amen to that, the rabbi writes. No one should have to endure this level of hatred, let alone at school. If you need assistance, please reach out to me, the rabbi put on the message. Now let's go back to what he said. It's not our job as Jews to ensure our own safety on campus. Amen to that. Which brings me to also the other part of this. I'm calling BS, and I want you to understand why. I do not believe that the protest that we are witnessing right now with this level of anti-Semitism is organic. Do I believe there's some students on college campus that hate Jews as much as Adolf Hitler did? Absolutely. And we're witnessing them in real time. But what I also will say is that it's very clear that this is being orchestrated and paid for. I don't know who's paying for it. But wouldn't it be nice if we had journalists that actually did a little bit of digging out there? Wouldn't it be nice if some of the mainstream media, for example, the newspapers in and around Columbia, one of them would be the New York Times, did a little digging to say, hey, this seems like a lot of outside agitators are coming in. Who's paying for this? Who's orchestrating all of this? That is a very, 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 very fair question that should be asked. This seems very much like something that someone like George Soros would be involved in funding. He's really good at it. We've seen this happen with Roe v. Wade when it was being overturned. It was clearly orchestrated at the highest levels from the Supreme Court on down when they leaked the Roe v. Wade decision. And then they started doxing the Supreme Court justices, and then they started threatening their lives, and they started showing up at their houses. And guess what? The government, who was supposed to imprison people that had tried to intimidate a federal judge, didn't do a damn thing. Not only that, you had people that were driving across the country. One of them that was actually planning on killing one of the justices. They caught him, but yet again, the government didn't do their job, which was to send a clear message that you're not allowed to intimidate judges, much less Supreme Court judges, hoping to change the outcome of a case. Now, I give that as just one example. What the Democrats have figured out, and I will say it again, and I've said this before as I filled in for Mark, I believe the Democratic Party is dead. I believe the Democratic Party no longer exists. I believe the Democratic Party is just used as a mask to mask what the real new agenda is, and that is socialism, communism, and Marxism. The Democratic Party died. The members of the Democratic Party now in leadership, they are socialists, Marxists, and communists. They're just not sure if you're totally ready for it. But what we have noticed is younger people certainly are, because they've been indoctrinated on our college campuses and in our high schools. They have been indoctrinated to hate this country. They've also been indoctrinated to hate the Jews, not just Israel as a country, but the actual Jewish people everywhere they are in the world. They have been indoctrinated to believe that Jewish people do not have a right to exist. These are the same people that will chant things on college campuses now, like death to America and death to Israel, chanting from the river to the sea, supporting and advocating for Hamas and the atrocities that have been done by Hamas. The Marxists and socialists and the communists masquerading around right now like the Democratic Party and acting like they're brilliant professors and brilliant minds at Columbia University or Yale or Harvard or MIT or wherever it may be. What they are now doing is they saw an opportunity to take the minds of our young people and to indoctrinate them very much. I want to be clear, and I want to be clear when I say this. I mean what I'm saying. It is no different than what they did with Hitler's youth. They took the young generation, they took the young people, and they indoctrinated them to hate the Jews. That's what they're doing on college campuses right now. How is it any different? The Hitler Youth movement, if you go back and look at history, It was an indoctrination to make sure that young people hated a group of people from the very beginning. They trained them and indoctrinated them to hate. How is that any different than what we're witnessing right now unfold at our college campuses? Now, when it comes to safety, you have to ask yourself a question. Where are the adults in the room? Or maybe it is that the adults actually don't really care about keeping the Jewish students safe. Maybe it's that they actually don't want the Jewish students even to be on campus. On CNN, Mayor Adams, New York, on the Columbia University protests, here's what he said about it all. Listen carefully to his words.
Mayor Adams, thanks for joining us. So on Sunday, you released a statement, part of which reads, quote, I have instructed the NYPD to investigate any violation of law that is reported. Rest assured, the NYPD will not hesitate to arrest anyone who is found to be breaking the law. But you also said Columbia University is a private institution on private property, which means the NYPD cannot have a presence on campus unless specifically requested by senior university officials. Do you think Columbia is doing enough to protect its students, especially its Jewish students? And do you worry that sending in NYPD might actually inflame matters?
Well, first, I want to say that I know what protest is about. I participated in protests throughout my life, particularly during the South African calling for the dismantling of apartheid. That is one of the fundamental rights we hold dear as Americans, the right to protest. What we are seeing playing out on many of our college campuses, and particularly in Columbia University, is hate. We're seeing vile language being used, and at no time should we call for the destruction of anyone, should we call for violence towards anyone. That is not what protesting is about. Now we have to go within the law. In this country and in this city, comments like that on the surface are not illegal. But if you use it to harass someone or menace someone, we're going to take appropriate action to stop that from taking place. And we will go on private property for imminent threat. Even though it's a private property, if there's imminent threat or danger to someone, the NYPD will go on that private property.
There's a fine line, by the way, between freedom of speech and threats against people that are Jewish. I have put up on Instagram some of the chants that have been said at Columbia University. And some of them I can't play here because of the language. But I do feel like it's very, very, very important that you hear it. I want you to go and look at it on Instagram. And don't play it with your kids. But I want you to see what they're chanting. Because the mayor of New York City knows that these chants have already taken place over the weekend. He was commenting after the weekend. He knows the chants that they're talking about advocating for terrorism against Jewish people on campus. And he sits there and he's like, well, I'm a big proponent of freedom of speech. So am I, Mayor. I'm not in favor of people making and chanting threats to students at Columbia University. Free speech does not cover that. And those chants I put up there on social media because I want you to see them. And you probably need to share them with different people. It would be important that you share them on social media with your family and your friends, because you need to understand just how anti-Semitic Columbia University has allowed their campus, how toxic they've allowed their campus to become. This is no different than what you heard during World War II from the Nazis and the Nazi sympathizers. To be very clear, yes, it is on that level. 1-877-381-3811. During the break, go listen to these. Go watch these videos. You can follow me on Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. I also put them up on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's Ben Ferguson Show on Twitter. They're up there as well. Or on Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. Your phone calls coming up. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Our once mighty dollar is under siege from runaway inflation. For those still working, your paychecks buy less while costs for gas, food, cars, utilities skyrocket thanks to inflation. That's why I'm urging all my listeners to register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. It's a fantastic seminar. They'll teach you how to take steps to help guard your wealth from inflation using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver hold intrinsic value that should remain untouched by government manipulation. Folks, don't wait for the Fed's reckless policies to completely devalue the dollar and steal your life savings. Call now while free registration is open. I'm telling you, this is a fantastic seminar. Call 800-900-8000 right now. The Gold and Silver Summit could provide the vital insights we need to protect our families. 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Always consult your financial and tax professionals.
Welcome back. It is the Ben Ferguson Show. It is our... let me just start that all over. Producer, you can laugh at me. It is the Mark Levin Show. Obviously, I do my own show every day. You can tell. Filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. He'll be back with you tomorrow. This is when you know I've got a lot to say because I go right in. This is... Let's talk about the money real quick. And the money that is fueling this anti-Semitism on college campuses. George Soros, I mentioned earlier, I said is the guy that's probably behind that. We now know a lot more about how much George Soros is behind it. In fact, what we've been told is a nonprofit has received donations from George Soros that has been bankrolling the groups who have hosted pro-Palestinian rallies. That according to a new watchdog group report. The nonprofit San Francisco-based Tides Foundation has been given over $22 million for different causes. Now, the Tide Foundation has then given millions of dollars to liberal organizations who have all organized pro-Palestinian protests, according to the Capital Research Center. $650,000 to Jewish Voice for Peace, $710,000 to the Adala Justice Project, a pro-Palestinian group. $86,000 to If Not Now, $38,000 to the Progressive Center for Constitutional Rights, $600,000 to the Mass Liberation Project, a progressive organization working to, quote, end mass incarceration and abolish the criminal legal system. $132,000 to the Westpac Foundation, the group over Students for Justice in Palestine. Now, Soros' Open Society Foundation network made donations to all the liberal organizations. These are the ones that show up and demand that the Jewish people be taken out from the river to the sea. For example, the Mass Liberation Project's Arizona chapter, which is a direct affiliate of the Tides Foundation, has actually accused the United States government of, quote, ethnic cleansing of Palestinian people. And also paints Hamas in a, quote, positive light because those that are, cooking babies in ovens and stabbing them in their cribs to death and then raping women and beheading people and killing grandparents and parents and children of all ages in a horrific attack. Yeah, that's the people you want to be defending, right? This is an organization that takes money from George Soros, and their sole job is to paint Hamas, an actual terrorist organization, in a, quote, positive light. I'm going to give you more details on this. Follow the money every time. Follow the money. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. We'll be right back.
Attention, fellow Americans. Mark Levin here with a warning and a solution. I feel like our country's being destroyed by out-of-control spending and debt thanks to Biden and the American Marxists. And your hard-earned savings and retirement could be at risk from their socialist schemes. That's why you should consider Advantage Gold, the best of the best, a U.S.-based company that specializes in helping everyday Americans protect their wealth. They have a simple solution to help you even potentially grow your wealth despite the attacks from Washington. I urge you to register for their their upcoming Gold and Silver Summit. It's fabulous. A free online event where you'll learn tips to help safeguard your finances by diversifying into physical precious metals. Call 800-900-8000. Call them right now to sign up securely for this pivotal summit. It is crucial. Tell them Mark Levin sent you for a special bonus. Call 800-900-8000 right now. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
Blasting conservative fire. The Mark Levin Show. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
Welcome back. It is Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. He will be back with you tomorrow as he is celebrating the Jewish holiday today. And I am very thankful to be sitting in today. And I have a lot I want you to know about what's happening as Jewish students are under attack on our college campuses. And this is being paid for by dark money, much of it coming from George Soros. I also, during the break, did something, and some of you that were like, Ben, I can't find the video of these, what they're saying about these Jewish students to their face on college campus at Columbia. Apparently the video was taken down. I have just reposted it on Instagram. You can see it. It's in my stories right now. It's Ben Ferguson Podcast. I also just did like 10 different tweets on X of the stuff that I cannot play on the air here, but you need to see it, and you need to understand what these students are dealing with. Ben Ferguson Show on X, and I've got it all up there for you. One of the things I put up is this comes from a Columbia chat, all right, of students and people that are chatting. My husband just picked up our freshman daughter at school. He double parked and barged through the gate to get her on College Walk and escorted her out through a gauntlet of nasty protesters. She tried to put up with being on campus, quote unquote, staying strong, and, quote, holding her ground. But the noise and the viciousness finally got to her, and she couldn't sleep or concentrate anymore. My husband and daughter felt like refugees fleeing a war zone. These people are doing exactly what Adolf Hitler and the Nazis did to the Jews. I want you to understand that, and that's not hyperbole. Listen to what they're saying. And to top it all off, at the 116th and Amsterdam gate, they yelled at my husband to go back to Poland. Do you understand what they're doing here? The Jewish students, by the way, if you want to know how vicious it's gotten, how bad it is right now, let's go to Yale for a second, all right? Yale students, and I just put this video up on X, and you can see it, and you can share it. Yale students were chanting, Viva, Viva Palestina. Viva, Viva Palestina. And then they actually removed the American flag from the flagpole on campus and then cheered when the American flag hit the ground. Are you paying attention yet, America, to what's happening in the United States of America? We have a wide open southern border. We have people that are coming in that don't like America. We have people that are coming in on the terrorist watch list at record numbers. We have people coming from the Middle East that are now on our college campuses right now who are surrounding Jewish students. You have parents that feel like they're going through a war zone just to pick their children up. You have Orthodox rabbi at Columbia. Bernard wrote to Jewish students, return home as soon as possible. You are not safe here. This is in the United States of America. Let me give you another one. And I would love to play this, but there's too many words that I can't do on the radio. So I'm going to edit it for you. But I put this one. I'm going to put up right now on X. Okay, Ben Ferguson Show. Go grab it. Let me just quote this for you. I'm gonna read it verbatim what they're chanting. Okay, at Columbia University last night. Al-Qassam, you make us proud. Okay, that's the Hamas leader. The guy who butchered children, cut their heads off, baked them in ovens, planned the attack, took American hostages, took Jewish hostages. They still have right now. Indiscriminately killed women and children and raped them, systemically raped them. Al-Qassam, you make us proud. Take another soldier out. That was chant number 1. Followed up by this. We say justice, you say how. Burn Tel Aviv to the ground. Can you imagine being a Jewish student at Columbia University? And by the way, I go back to what Mayor Adams that I played for you a moment ago said. Mayor Adams is like, hey, if we feel like there is a need to step in, we're going to step in. I'm reading you what they're chanting. It's happening in your city. At what point do you step in? We say justice, you say how. Burn Tel Aviv to the ground. Next chant. Hamas, we love you. We support your rockets too. So the terrorists, we love you. That's what they're chanting at Columbia University. We support your rockets too. Then red, black, green, and white, we support Hamas's fight. So that's the colors of Hamas. And the Palestinian, right, red, black, green, and white, we support Hamas's fight. They move on to this. It is right to rebel. Al-Qassam, give them hell. It's right to rebel. Hamas, give them hell. Free, free, free Palestine. These are jihadists on college campuses that we've allowed into this country. Some of them are illegal immigrants. Others have been indoctrinated because we have abandoned our universities. And the jihadists are openly chanting for terrorism on the streets of New York. And what does Mayor Adams say? Well, if it gets really bad, we'll get involved. The only thing that would be worse than this is if you actually started allowing them to kill people.
To protest. What we are seeing playing out on many of our college campuses, and particularly in Columbia University, is hate. We're seeing vile language being used, and at no time should we call for the destruction of anyone, should we call for violence towards anyone. That is not what protesting is about. Now we have to go within the law. In this country and in this city, comments like that on the surface are not illegal. But if you
I'm sorry, hold on. He just said, so now he's pivoting to free speech, right? The same leftists and Marxists and socialists hates free speech if it's a conservative saying it. Now he's like, look, we got to abide by the law now. We're all free speechers up here. Hamas, we love you. We support your rockets too. Red, black, green, and white. We support Hamas's fight. It is right to rebel. Al-Qassam, give them hell. It's right to rebel. Hamas, give them hell. Free, free Palestine. We say justice, you say how. Burn Tel Aviv to the ground. Hamas, we love you. We support your rockets too. Al-Qassam, you make us proud. Take another soldier out. Yeah, no, Ned, you're right. There's nothing to be afraid of there. Yeah, we can't do anything. Our hands are tied because we're all in favor of the second freedom of speech, right?
If you use it to harass someone or menace someone, we're going to take appropriate action to stop that from taking place. That's
a lie. We have videos of Jewish students who are being harassed, and you are absolutely not there protecting them. Like, I'm sorry. Let me give you another picture. I'm going to put this up right now. I'll put it right now up on Twitter. You guys are the warriors of the conservative movement, and you are the ones that can stand with Israel. And everything I'm putting out right now, I am giving it to you to please send it out to the world because the media is not covering this. I'll give you another example. There was a picture that was taken at Columbia last night. Some Jewish students were holding Israeli and American flags. So what happened? There was a girl that stood in front of them with a sign. What did the sign say? Al-Qassam, with a arrow pointing to the Jewish students' next targets. Al-Qassam is the Hamas military wing. Okay? So they're saying, hey, terrorists, you want to know who to kill next? It's the students behind me at Columbia University that are Jewish. These are openly pro-terrorist people. And they're threatening their fellow students, saying they deserve to die. Kill them next. I just put it up on X. Follow me there, Ben Ferguson show, and spread it with the world. And the mayor says, well, if it gets really bad, we're going to get involved. Translation, I'm not doing a damn thing. I'm not doing anything at all. I'm going to let this keep going, folks, because this is what we do. This is what we do. This is how we roll. You had another Jewish professor at Columbia who is now saying he needs police protection. I sent this message to the leadership at Columbia University. This is a professor. So this is, as a professor, right, you should feel safe to go to work. I'm going to be on campus Monday morning, and I am requesting police escort. Police escort for simply going to my own place of work. He then shares his email. I'm going to read it to you. I will put this up on social media as well. Dear President and Vice President and COO and the General Counsel, this is to the university leadership. Last I checked, I'm still a professor at Columbia University. Therefore, I plan to go tomorrow, Monday morning, and sit peacefully right in the center of the illegal encampment that you have allowed the pro-Hamas mob to establish in the middle of campus. I will be joined with several Jewish and Israeli students, faculty, and staff. Since the events of last night have shown that you have completely failed to protect the safety of your Jewish and Israeli students, I am requesting approval to have a police escort of at least 10 cops with me. I would ask for escort from the school's public safety, but they have proven themselves useless versus these mobs, and I do not want to put their lives at risk. We will be coming. I am an employee, and they are your students. You have a responsibility to protect our physical safety. Sincerely, and then the professor puts his name. He then CC'd the New York Post, Fox News, Washington Post, senior counsel to the chairwoman of the Committee on Education and the Workforce, documenting Jew hatred on campus.org, and several other people, it looks like, at law firms. This is a professor saying, I need 10 police officers so I can go to my job because you guys have allowed for an illegal encampment. And you have a mayor that's saying, well, if it gets really bad, what does bad look like? At this point, the only thing left would be actual people being murdered. Because everything else is apparently like, let's go. Let's go. Police, by the way, you think it's only in America where it's gotten bad? Oh, no, this is organized around the world. Police told a Jewish man that he was antagonizing, quote unquote, pro-Palestinian protesters by being openly Jewish in the UK. And then the police told the man, right, because I guess he's wearing his, as they would describe it, you know, your little hat thing. He added, if you choose to remain here because you are causing a breach of peace with all these other people, you will be arrested. So now you get arrested in the UK for being Jewish. Oh, no, you got to hide you're Jewish. You can't be wearing anything that would make you look like you're a Jew. That's happening in the UK right now. Isn't it funny how people would say, oh, well, it'll never happen again. We learned our lesson after Adolf Hitler. We learned our lesson after the Holocaust. We learned our lesson. We got a Holocaust museum in Washington, D.C. You have a mayor of New York that is allowing this to happen. You have a college campus that is allowing this to happen. So let's go back to what I said earlier about following the money. Where's all the money coming from? All of this money is coming from these anti-Israel, anti-American individuals who are funding this. This is not organic. This is pre-planned. It is organized. And it's being organized at the highest levels of the Democratic Party. That is what you need to understand. And if you think that the Democratic Party likes Jewish people, you're not paying attention. They hate the Jews. It's clear they hate the Jews. Their actions show you they hate the Jews. From the river to the sea. Oh, yeah, we got to give money to the Palestinians, though, right? Oh, we do? Why? Well, you know, I mean, we got to play both sides of this. So you want to fund them too? Yes, of course. Left-wing dark money is flowing into this country, and they are behind the bail funds for the Free Palestines, the bridge blockers, the people that are blocking traffic going to airports. This is all organized. This is so close to what Black Lives Matter did, all because Soros-backed groups are storming the streets, the U.S. Capitol. They're accusing Israel of genocide, and this is all being done with dark money. All of these anti-Israel groups are organizing because of the cash of the mega donor George Soros and others like him, who are saying that the Israeli government is a government of genocide, and that's what they were saying inside the United States Capitol building this last Wednesday. And what are Democrats doing with that info? They're like, okay, yeah, we'll go along with that. You want to know why they're going along with this? You want to talk about follow the money? Joe Biden and the Democrats are terrified that young socialist, Marxist, and communist voters who will vote for him and voted for him 4 years ago won't vote for him this time. They are terrified that not only will they not vote for him this time, but they'll just stay home. They're not worried that they're going to vote for Trump, but they're afraid that Donald Trump's going to win. They're terrified that Donald Trump is going to win because young people are staying home. And so they went to this president, they went to the White House, and they had meetings. They made it very, very, very clear. We have to get young people to go show up for Joe Biden. And that means he has to be anti-Israel. And you know what he said? Fine, I'll do it. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. All of these videos I'm talking about, you can grab them on Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. Follow me there. On X, Ben Ferguson Show. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
My fellow Americans, we're living in very perilous economic times. Washington seems determined to bankrupt our nation with endless stimulus spending. As they devalue our dollar, hard-working Americans like you could lose everything. That's why I urge you strongly, register for the upcoming Gold and Silver Summit hosted by our friends at Advantage Gold. They'll teach you how to help guard your wealth using asset diversification into physical precious metals. Gold and silver can offer a defense against the dollar's devaluation, and the experts at Advantage Gold will explain how you can convert some of your savings into precious metals that can protect and potentially grow your wealth. With currency debasement from Washington and global uncertainty on the rise, gold and silver diversification can offer you some stability. Call 800-900-8000 right now to sign up. 800-900-8000 now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. He is celebrating Passover, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. It is an honor to be filling in on such an important day, and also to talk about everything that's happening on college campuses. So let's just recap for a second. This is all orchestrated, number one, and funded and paid for by Soros and other dark money people. You need to understand that. And we've known that since this started. This isn't something that just happened overnight. That's part of what you need to understand. Okay, this is not something that just happened in the last few weeks. They've been planning this now for, I think it's clear, at least 6, 8, 9 months to a year. That's number one. Columbia professors are declaring solidarity with student protesters and call for the president's resignation now. Why? Because of what they've allowed to take place on their college campus. And they're doing it because the money flow. These Soros individuals and agitators, they own these universities. They're funding them to indoctrinate students. You don't get an education now at these universities. You get an indoctrination. And if you're sending your kids to these universities, they're going to turn your children against you. I've been warning about this for years. Do not send your kid to the best college they get in. You need to see what they're going to do to your kid's mind. You want to lose your kid? You spent 18 years raising your kids. I have 3 boys. And you can do it perfectly, and you send them off to these great institutions. And what happens? They will destroy their minds, and they will turn them against you and your family and your values, and they will indoctrinate them to hate America and to hate Jewish people. This is how this is how the Nazis did it, folks. They started with the young people. They started with the Nazi youth to hate the Jews.
This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hour 2, Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin, who is enjoying the Jewish holiday today, and it's an honor to be filling in for the great one. We have got so much to talk about, including anti-Semitism that is completely and utterly out of control on college campuses. This is not organic. This is organized, and it is being funded by the Democratic Party. Now, the Democratic Party is dead. The sooner you understand that, the better you'll understand what the left is actually doing. The Democratic Party died. It is now being controlled by socialists, communists, and Marxists. Now, look, they understand that not every Democratic voter is ready yet to admit that they are a socialist or a Marxist or a communist. So they say, we're Democrats, but they're not. The Democratic Party of your parents' day and your grandparents' days, that's gone, folks, long gone. And so these protests that are sick on another level, where they're attacking Jewish students. I'll give you another example. And all of this, by the way, there's so many different things I put up that I cannot play because of the language. I have put them up on social media so you guys can see it, and you can share it, and you can make these anti-Semitic individuals famous. I want them to be seen because the media is not covering this because they're in on it too. You look at what is happening, and this is all coming from major black dollars. I'll give you an example. I'm going to go back in time. This is a report that was done in December of last year, 2023. Okay, so January, February, March, April. So this is like 5 months ago. And I'm going to play it for you. This came from Fox News on America's Reports with Sandra Smith and John Roberts. And they were talking about, because we were seeing these pro-Palestinian protests that were breaking out in America after the horrific terrorist attack, that basically the modern day 9/11 for Israel. And we were witnessing it and watching it. It's like, well, who's behind this? Because it's so well organized. And I immediately, when I saw it, I was like, dude, this is Black Lives Matter 2.0. Shut down traffic, shut down highways, shut down, like, it's almost like they've done this before. And I'm like, oh, wait, what do you bet the same people that were backing Black Lives Matter and shutting down roadways that are behind what we're dealing with right now today? Listen to this report.
Hollywood, you can't hide. You're committing genocide. You're committing genocide.
A charity watchdog group did some digging into pro-Palestinian protests and found one nonprofit that has given millions of dollars to groups connected to these rallies. That nonprofit, Tides, has received money from several foundations, including one controlled by George Soros, who has donated more than $22 million to the group. William Lajeunesse has the story for us. William, what's some of this money doing?
Well, the protests, right, they cost money. The signs, the travel, the organizing. But where does it come from? Well, there's a group most have never heard about. It is called Tides, and they take in big money, mostly from anonymous donors or foundations. Then they dole it out, some $700 million last year, to progressive groups.
I'm sorry, did you just hear that number? Some $700 million. And then they dole it out to groups, right? If you don't think this is the part that I want you to understand, and I need this to inspire you. We are up against a $700 million anti-American and anti-Jewish machine. They came to play, folks. You must learn your enemy and you must respect your enemy, because if you don't, you will get beat. And we have been being beat by our enemy on our college campuses. They're indoctrinating our kids to believe that Jews should die from the river to the sea, and that terrorist organizations should be supported, that Hamas should be supported, that the Palestinians who stand with Hamas should be supported, and that the Jewish people are somehow the aggressors and the evil ones, when in fact it is very clear that it's these barbaric terrorists who did the attack on Israel. Yet there are people that still are saying, no, well, hold on, you shouldn't be mad at Iran, for example, what they did last week. But let's deal with Iran for just 30 seconds before I go back to this report. Did you know that we have oil embargoes? We have oil sanctions on Iran right now. Iran doesn't have money without selling oil. Iran is one of the easiest countries in the world to control if you want to control them, because all you have to do is stop the flow of their oil and they will be hurting like you have never seen before. That is their entire economy. In Iran, we have sanctions. We have sanctions on their oil. And what they do is they put it on what we refer to as ghost ships. And they ship billions of barrels of oil to China. Now, China buys it at a discount because there's not a lot of other buyers out there. But we know they're doing this, and they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars. Now, when they're making money, what do? They then support terrorists, Hamas, Hezbollah, and anybody else that wants to kill Americans or Jews. And they give them money and weaponry and everything else and drones, and then they help train them for the attacks. That the training for the attack on Israel was trained by the Iranians, right? You know the weaponry was from Iranians, the drones are from the Iranians. How'd they pay for all that? From the oil. Now, the White House, to save face and to have a cover story, they're like, no, we got sanctions on Iran. Are you enforcing them? Well, no. No, we're not enforcing any of them. We're letting them sell their oil at record rates, record number of barrels per day. So you have a sanction to claim you have a sanction on Iran, but you don't enforce the sanctions on Iran. That's like saying you're under arrest, but not putting someone in handcuffs and not putting them in a car and not booking them at the police station. Are you really under arrest? Hey, you're under arrest. Okay, have a good day, Bob. See you later. Keep being a terrorist. That's what the Biden administration has done here. So there's $700 million that is being given out, divvied up to these anti-American pro-terrorist organizations who are then terrorizing our college campuses, shutting down traffic, interstate commerce, the list goes on, and indoctrinating young people to believe that Israel is evil and the terrorists are good. Keep listening.
But the real donors remain secret. New York, Chicago, cities across the country. Who's paying to organize pro-Palestinian protests?
I think that the funding sources of these groups is intentionally hard to sort out.
A major source is San Francisco-based Tides, a nonprofit clearinghouse for liberal causes, funded by some of America's wealthiest foundations and individuals like billionaire George Soros, who, according to charity watchdog Capital Research Center, funneled Tides more than $22 million for different causes.
If the left does it, Tides funds it.
Tax records show Tides granted Jewish Voice for Peace, which co-sponsored this protest, $650,000. $710,000 to the Adalah Justice Project, which organized this demonstration on Capitol Hill. $86,000 to the group If Not Now, organizer of this protest outside the DNC. $38,000 to the Center for Constitutional Rights, which sued President Biden for failing to, quote, prevent genocide. $600,000 to the Mass Liberation Project, which accuses the U.S. of ethnic cleansing, and $132,000 to Westpac, sponsor of Students for Justice in Palestine, which organized this protest at Columbia.
The Tides Network has sent well over $2 million in the past few years alone to organizations sympathetic to Hamas and sympathetic to the Palestinian resistance.
Some going to these groups, all of which signed a letter demanding the U.S. defund the Israeli military. So Tides also gave about $6 million to the 8 organizations you just saw. They did not respond to our interview request. Now, a spokesperson for the Soros Foundation, Sandra, says they condemn Hamas and they support a future that respects rights and freedoms of all.
That's a lie, by the way, because these protests, you notice, have gone next level. The protests have moved into, hey, we're going to surround Jewish students and make them feel unsafe. We're going to threaten them. We're going to say, have signs that are pointed at Jewish students saying, hey, Hamas, kill these guys next. They are absolutely pro-terrorists. That is what they are. They are pro-terrorist. The Yale students, let's go back to Yale. I don't know why any parent in America right now would send their kid to Yale, Harvard, Columbia, MIT after what we now know. Okay, I'm sorry. Whatever your logic is, what's the best? Well, yeah, they're the best at turning your kid into a Marxist. They're the best at turning your kid into a socialist. They're the best at turning your kid into a communist. The Yale students chanting Viva, Viva Palestina as they remove the American flag from the flagpole, and then they cheer when the American flag literally comes crumbling down to the ground. That is Yale University. Why any parent would pay for their child to go to Yale or to get extra tutoring or obsess over ACT, SAT scores or whatever the hell gets you in there now because it's Yale, after watching this video and not seeing Yale get this under control, is to the parents, I'm sorry, you're stupid. You are stupid to give these universities money. You have Orthodox rabbi at Columbia telling the Jewish students, return home as soon as possible. You're not safe here. You have professors who are needing 10 police officers to go on campus at Columbia University. You have other students who can't even get to their dorm room because they're being surrounded. Okay, they're actually being surrounded by people that are chanting anti-Semitic chants at them. This is no different than what Hitler did to the Jews. This is there's no difference here. There is no difference here. One person yesterday tweeted, tonight at Yale, I was assaulted by a student today at an anti-Israel protest. He stabbed me in the eye with a Palestinian flag. Now I'm in the hospital. This is what happens when visibly Jewish students try to attend and document these rallies. By the way, where's our government right now? I'll retweet that. All of these things that I'm reading for you and putting out there, I'm putting it all out there for you so that you guys can have this. There's another video I'm going to post right now. It's a video of a student where other students actually chained themselves together to not allow a clearly Jewish student to get through. If that isn't harassment, I don't know what is. I mean, imagine being a student and this is how you were treated. And this anti-Semitism that's on the rise at universities because of cultural Marxism has indoctrinated, I said it in the first hour, I'll say it again, young people into breaking the world into two groups, the oppressors and the victims. And the Jews, they have indoctrinated them to believe are the oppressors, and the Palestinians are somehow the victims, and therefore that should allow for your vicious anti-Semitism. And harass these students. Go after these students. Columbia, by the way, we're also being told now. I'm just getting this, so I'm gonna put it out there. I'll send it out there right now on X. Columbia apparently deactivated one of their professors' IDs, preventing him from entering campus. He's currently outside requesting a police escort to get inside and protest in the encampment. Meanwhile, members of the faculty and staff prepare to block him from entering. So if you stand up for yourself, right? If you stand up for yourself, this is what they will do to you. This isn't happening in another country. This is happening in the United States of America. This is happening on our college campuses. In fact, it's happening on the college campuses that they tell you are the ones that you desperately need to get into. Universities that parents will cheat and lie and pack their kids' resumes just to get them in. Why would you do this to your child? Do not send them to these universities. 1-877 381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. Make sure you grab my podcast. I would love to keep up with you guys on my podcast, Ben Ferguson Podcast. You can grab it anywhere during the break and subscribe. It's free. I'll be right back after this.
Mark Levin.
Nowadays, $20 barely gets you a burger and fries or maybe a quarter tank of gasoline. You know what it will get you, though? For just $20 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data from my cell phone company, Pure Talk. You'll get the same quality of service as AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, but for half the cost. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year, all with no contracts and no activation fees. You can trade your phone or get great deals on the latest iPhones and Androids. Make the switch today and save an additional 50% off your first month. Choose a wireless company that shares our values, that supports our military and veterans, that creates American jobs, and refuses to advertise on fake news networks. Instead, they're right here with us. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and make the switch right now so you can actually afford that burger and fries. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Levin.
Mr. Producer, let me just ask you a question real quick. Do you remember how fast the media works and the internet works to find out who conservatives are when they don't like something they say? Like, you remember, wasn't it Nick Sandmann, the kid whose life they tried to ruin? Thank goodness he sued and made a bunch of money because he was standing there respectfully, actually, with his Trump hat on and was standing up for the rights of unborn children in Washington, D.C. on a school trip, and they turned him into this evil racist. Remember that? Remember the little kid that they said was in blackface at the game that actually wasn't in blackface just recently? Remember that? That one? Yeah. They'll find those people right away. I just put up on X the picture of the white woman who says Al-Qassam, that is the Hamas terrorist leader, next targets with an arrow towards the Jewish students. And I put it up there and I said, Hitler would be proud. Let's make her famous. Like, I wonder if everyone listening right now just decides, let's make her famous. I wonder how long it would take, because somebody's got to know who this woman is. It's not that hard. Like, I feel like if they can find the kid that was in fake blackface, right? That never actually happened, or they can try to ruin Nick Sandmann's life, for example, and they can dox all the conservatives out there. Like, surely we can all unite to find out if this is a professor at Columbia University. Is this a donor? Is this someone that's indoctrinating your kids at Columbia? Like surely we as conservatives can figure that out. I'm just saying, maybe it's time for us to make this woman famous. She's literally has an arrow pointing at the Jewish students who are holding Jewish flags and American flags, saying this should be your next target to kill, calling for the murder of Jews. I put it up there. Ben Ferguson show on Twitter. Make her famous. Retweet it. You guys, we suck at this. I want to be clear. Democrats are better at it than we are. They are. The socialists, Marxist, communists are better at it. But for once, can we have a little victory here? Let's make this person famous. I wonder if she's a professor. We'll be right back.
Nowadays, $20 barely gets you a burger and fries or maybe a quarter tank of gasoline. You know what it will get you, though? For just $20 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data from my cell phone company, Pure Talk. You'll get the same quality of service as AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, but for half the cost. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year, all with no contracts and no activation fees. You can trade your phone or get great deals on the latest iPhones and Androids. Make the switch today and save an additional 50% off your first month. Choose a wireless company that shares our values, that supports our military and veterans, that creates American jobs, and refuses to advertise on fake news networks. Instead, they're right here with us. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and make the switch right now so you can actually afford that burger and fries. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Levin, Levin.
This is where Hollywood liberals come for rehab. The Mark Levin Show is back at 877-381-3811.
Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin. He is celebrating Passover, and he will be back with you tomorrow. I want to get to your phone calls now. 1-877-381-3811. Roger, line 5 in Oklahoma. Welcome. You're on. Ben Ferguson with you right now. Hi.
Hi, Ben. I just wanted to mention I agree with you that the federal government should be involved with this, but not for harassment. The kid that got stabbed in the eye, I believe that the person who stabbed him should be charged as the domestic terrorist, because that's what he did to that person was considered terrorism by definition.
Or, I mean, isn't it Democrats who love charging everybody with a hate crime? Why not charge him with a hate crime? You stabbed him because he's, what, Jewish? Like, I mean, this isn't hard to figure out. Isn't that the definition of a hate crime?
Well, it's exactly a federal hate crime, but the students that are chaining themselves together and not allowing them to get where they need to get, that is also a federal hate crime.
Yeah, I will post that video, by the way. I'm going to post that up there for people so you can see it. I'll do it right now. Of the students that chained themselves together to block and harass a Jewish student from being able to get to class. Like, how is that not a hate crime? That's hate, by definition. Is it not, Roger?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it falls there. Same with that picture that you talked about with the lady putting arrows on everybody.
Yeah, I've got her picture up there right now. Let's make her famous. Like, I'm all in. Let's make her famous. My gut is this is somebody I would love to know if she's a professor. And by the way, if you're a Yale graduate, look at what the Yale students are doing. They're chanting "Viva, Viva Palestina" as they remove an American flag from the flagpole and cheer when the American flag hits the ground. That's Yale. Why would anybody send your kid to Yale to be indoctrinated that way?
And then the other thing, too, is that you know that this administration's not going to have the FBI investigate it. Hopefully we can get Trump into office, because I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations won't have run out.
Yeah. I've got the video up right now. It is this group of Yale students form a human chain to block a Jewish student from entering the university. The chilling act of anti-Semitism echoes 1939, when Nazis blocked Jewish students from entering Vienna University simply because they were Jewish. That's what this is. I'm going to put it up on X right now so you guys can see it. And it's something that needs to be seen. I'm posting it as we speak because we need to make these students famous. If you're going to be anti-Semitic like this, then I want everybody that is a student at Yale and these guys graduate, fine. This is what you're hiring. Do you want to hire them? Like, is this who you want to hire? I just put it up there, Roger. It's up there right now. Ben Ferguson Show on X. Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you. Let me get back to your phone calls. 1-877-381-3811. Let me go to Donna in Florida. You are on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in. Hi.
Hey, Ben. Welcome to Mark's World. We're enjoying you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to make some points that we don't forget. George Soros is Jewish. When he was 11 years old, he joined the Hitler Youth and reported all his Jewish neighbors, so they got incarcerated. He started making money all over Europe and ruining many economies, and then came to America. His son, Nick, is now taken over his gazillion dollars because he's 92 years old now. And after he came to America, he started the Tide Foundation. He started CAIR, C-A-I-R, and all these organizations that are funding all the terrorists.
Yeah, let me say this. I want to be clear about disinformation. I don't know if there's been a lot going around about Soros. and there was a photo depicting George Soros as a Nazi soldier, for example. That was not true. I just want to be clear. I don't know. I know Soros, and this is coming from the report that came out after this. All right, so I'm just going to read it for you. Okay. A photo circulating widely on Facebook is not Soros, but a young individual, a former SS sergeant who became known as the accountant of Auschwitz, according to information provided by the Associated Press by the Memorial Museum of Auschwitz in Poland. Now, Soros, who was just 9 years old when Hitler's army invaded Poland, was not a member of the Nazi Party, despite what the photos have said. Soros, who is Jewish and Hungarian, was 15 during the Nazi occupation of Hungary. He would have been too young to join the Hitler Youth, an organization that recruited and trained 16 and 17-year-old boys to fight. So I want to be clear. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there that I want to be accurate on. Okay, that's what I know. What I do know is it's very clear that he hates Israel right now, and it's very clear without even that back part, and I just want to get facts right because the left lies to push their narrative. We should never do that. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. But what I do know about Soros is that Soros is the one behind the funding of all of this anti-Israel rhetoric. Now, I don't know why he is obsessed with destroying Israel from the river to the sea, but it seems that he's willing to spend every dollar. And by the way, if you think Soros is bad, let's go back to something else you said a moment ago about his son who's running this stuff. From what I've been told by people that know his son, he's 10 times worth of his dad, and that's hard to believe. But when you have unlimited funds, and that's in essence what they have, they can throw around $30 million, $80 million, $60 million, $90 million. They can throw that money around, no problem, and organize not just protests in the U.S., but protests in the U.K. and protests all over the world. It's not hard to buy protesters, folks. I've been saying this for quite some time. You want to have power? Do sit-ins. And when the media is there to cover your sit-ins, it's the best money you'll ever spend. When you have sit-ins on bridges that are orchestrated by this dark money, this black money, it's incredible. It's truly incredible because now you're buying millions and millions of dollars in free advertising, in essence, right? Advocacy for your cause. And so you get people to block flights going, into Chicago last weekend. You get them to shut down bridges and roadways and all these other things. You pay them some money to do it. And then you get it all over the country. And then you do sit-ins at Columbia University. And you do these encampments that pop up. This is the exact playbook of Black Lives Matter, which got billions and billions of dollars. And I'm not exaggerating on that number. Billions of dollars in free advertising. Billions with a B. And the reason why they got billions is because they were saying what the left wanted them to say. And the media covered it all day long like they were some do-gooders. These people are pro-terrorist, anti-American, anti-Jewish. They want to destroy this country and they want to destroy Israel. And they're doing one hell of a job doing it right now. 1-877-381-3811. Jerry, you are on the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson with you. Hello.
Hey, Ben. Thanks for getting me on. And I was a little hot with Mr. Producer. I had to kind of pull over. But I got three things. Number one, these Yale's and Harvards and Browns and whatever, if I ever get a resume again, I've been an employer for 30 years. If I ever get one from it, it's going into the round can. I'll cede all of those brilliant minds to the rest of the employers across the country. Enjoy their lack of creativity, enjoy their lack of work ethic, enjoy their lack of original thought. They can have them. Second point, I grew up Irish Catholic, 10 kids. Our first street was on an all-Jewish neighborhood, and my dad was trained by a lot of Jewish men in the community how to trade cattle back in the Midwest. So I'm very sensitive to what's happening here, but I got to tell you, the Palestinians didn't create this environment in the U.S. This is a long time building until we have an honest conversation of where the roots of all this is coming from that created the infrastructure and the allowance for this type of thought to germinate and spread goes back 50 years. Third thing, the Jewish vote is a block vote, and it has been since Truman, and it's all Democrats, 75%. If that doesn't change now, I don't know what the future is going to hold for the U.S., quite frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not about it.
No, it's a fair point. And look, I also think this goes back to something that I mentioned earlier about you follow the money and you follow this cash. And you have to understand, why is this White House embracing this anti-Semitism and taking their hand off of Israel? It's because they have been told that the polling is clear. If you don't get the young 35 and under Democrats, socialists, Marxists, and communists to vote for you, and again, they're not worried about them voting for Trump. They're worried about them just not showing up. And if they don't show up, you're going to lose this coming election November. So they have made a political decision. All right, let Israel burn. We've got to be anti-Israel in public, and we've got to listen to these young people that are really upset and really angry. And let's then, all right, well, let's get them on these college campuses, and they can raise hell and chant death to America and death to Israel, and they can harass Jewish students, and you can have the rabbis come out and say, Jewish students, go home, you're not welcome here, which I actually think they celebrate that they, and then you have states that refuse to keep these kids safe, and you have Mayor Adams who's out there like, well, I mean, if it gets really bad, and the only thing left would be actual murder, then we'll step in on private property. But otherwise, they're just kind of saying stuff right now. They're just blocking Jews from going to class. It's no big deal. They're just chanting death to America. They just got signs pointing at the kids and pointing at them that the Hamas should kill them next. But this isn't really hate speech. Hitler would be proud. I go back to this white woman that, please, make her famous. I put it up there, and I put up this video of the Yale students forming a human chain to block a Jewish student from entering the university. I just put that one up. Make these people famous. It's on college campuses. The Nazis prevented Jewish students from entering the University of Vienna in 1938. Okay, that picture is up there as well. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post that picture as well. This is where I do love social media. I really want you to understand, there are certain moments where we can use social media for good. I'm going to put it up there, and I'm going to title it, I'm telling my phone what to do. This is America's college campuses today. There, it's up. That's how this is exactly what is happening in America today. That's how you know we do the show live, folks. But you guys can do what the media is not doing, and you can share this. You can share and make sure that people understand what is happening in America today. For all the negatives of social media, there are moments like this where we as conservatives can come together, and we as conservatives can say, you know what? We're going to show you what the media is refusing to show you. And we're going to tell you about history in this country. And we're going to remind you and make these, you know what, if you're willing to walk out there and have an arrow pointing at Jewish students saying, hey, Hamas, kill them next, then we're going to find out who you are. We're going to make you famous. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark Levin. We'll get your phone calls in here as well. 1-877-381-3811. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Nowadays, $20 barely gets you a burger and fries and maybe a quarter tank of gasoline. You know what it will get you, though? For just $20 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data from my cell phone company, Pure Talk. You'll get the same quality of service as AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, but for half the cost. The average family saves almost $1,000 a year, all with no contracts and no activation fees. You can trade your phone or get great deals on the latest iPhones and Androids. Make the switch today and save an additional 50% off your first month. Choose a wireless company that shares our values, that supports our military and veterans, that creates American jobs, and refuses to advertise on fake news networks. Instead, they're right here with us. Just go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and make the switch right now so you can actually afford that burger and fries. That's puretalk.com/Levin. Levin.
Welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. You can find me and all of these videos I was telling you about on social media. Ben Ferguson Show on X and Ben Ferguson Podcast on Instagram. These people that are attacking the Jews on college campus, let's find out who they are. Let's make them famous. It's amazing how fast they can figure out who Nick Sandman is, or the kid that was a fan at a football game and said, oh, he's wearing blackface. Yes, they can do that, the media. But no. A white woman who's pointing at the students behind her that are supporting Israel and America and says, hey, kill them next. No. We still don't know who she is. Really? All right, let's make these people famous. Something else Mr. Producer just sent me. Brilliant. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Robert O'Neill, who killed Osama bin Laden, this guy's a bad A in my book. He tweeted out earlier, and this is so accurate. Do we pay off their student loans before or after they shout death to America? Yeah, it's a great point. It is a great point. Yeah, Biden, by the way, would say before, because that's how you buy votes. Can we just talk about the student loan debt real quick? And this is a great time to bring this up. Democrats just moved yet again to pay off more student loan debt. I want you to understand this should be illegal. This is buying votes. That's what it is. It's saying vote for me in November and I'll pay off more of your student loans, and the Republicans would never do this for you. So you need to vote for me, and I'm going to get rid of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 of your debt. If you're married, great. I'll double it, right? Get rid of $100,000 of student loan debt. That's buying a vote. That's buying a vote with taxpayer dollars. That's number one. Number two, you also are buying the indoctrination of a generation at our universities. Because the universities are going to remember the Democrats are the ones that are paying for them to come to campus. And so the prices of colleges have skyrocketed because of subsidized loans and government-backed loans. We have over $1 trillion in student loan debt in this country. $1 trillion. That is insane. Should never have gotten to this point, but if you look at the cost of going to college now, it is insane. It is absolutely skyrocketed. Why? Because the government got involved. You don't think that the professors know that the Democrats are the ones paying for these kids' education, for them to come around and indoctrinate them? This is all part of the master plan to destroy America. Have the taxpayers pay for kids to be indoctrinated. Not get an education, but be indoctrinated to hate America at our universities. And you and I are paying for that. Ben Ferguson filling in for Mark. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Time flies, my friends. Welcome, Hour 3. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one, Mark Levin, who's celebrating Passover tonight. We will be back with you tomorrow. We have got a lot to talk about, including what's happening on college campuses with anti-Semitism as well. And the Biden administration clearly making a political decision to say screw you to Israel, our biggest ally, so that the younger voters who hate Israel in this country, that have been indoctrinated to hate Israel, let's also be clear about that, will vote for them come November. This is all about votes. Now, I mentioned before the break about Democrats buying votes. This student loan debt forgiveness is something that the president did several years ago. And he did it the first time he ran to buy votes. And I'll give you an example of a story. Business Insider ran this story yesterday. A Gen Xer who got $250,000 in student loans forgiven said he can now finally start saving for retirement and consider his dream of studying in India. So that's this guy's who we're supporting now. Unconstitutional is what it is. Unconstitutional forgiveness won't fix student debt is another headline. National Review had a great article about this by John Hartley. And it said one-time debt cancellation isn't a solution to the structural problem with federal student loans. Earlier this month, the Biden administration unveiled a plan to cancel hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt to garner votes in an election year. And this is buying votes. It's supposed to be illegal to buy votes, yet they're doing it, and they're doing it with billions of taxpayer dollars. Now, I paid off all my student loans, and I'm going to get screwed because I was a responsible one. In fact, when I wrote my first book, my dad, I think, was probably the most proud of me for not writing the book. But when I got the first check, the first thing I did when I got that check was pay off all of my student loans. I didn't go buy anything cool. I didn't go out and buy a car. My first advance check, I paid off my student loans. I'm screwed now for doing that. I'm not rewarded for it. That wasn't the smart thing to do. And if I would have known that we were going to somehow legalize buying votes, I wouldn't have paid it off because Lord knows I pay the government enough money in taxes. The forgiveness plan is hardly serious on both economic and legal grounds. Much like the 2022 Biden administration attempt at forgiveness was declared literally unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in 2023. But that doesn't matter because they're going to do it anyway because they're trying to overthrow what we have in this country. The amount of student loan forgiveness this time is extremely broad, aiming to provide some student debt forgiveness to approximately 30 million people. That's trying to buy 30 million votes. The original approach by the Biden administration was two-pronged. The first, provide immediate student debt cancellation, and that was blocked by the Supreme Court, and then allow for it to, grow over time. Now, you got to also understand the student loan and student loan debt forgiveness plan and how this is basically no different than how a cartel works. The White House is signaling to universities, hey, we'll keep subsidizing you indoctrinating kids to hate America, to love Marxism, socialism, and communism, and keep us in power. And as long as you guys keep doing that, we'll keep giving you student loan, we'll keep paying for their student loans so they keep coming to your university so you can keep indoctrinating them. You don't get a real education at colleges anymore. Like if you're trying to become a doctor, you're trying to become a lawyer or something like very specific. If you're going to do something in technology, okay, if nursing school, like a trade like that, then college is certainly warranted. If you're going to be a scientist, right? But in general, the majority of like liberal arts and things like that, like the majority of what they're teaching you at Columbia or Harvard or Yale, it's just to hate this country. It's to indoctrinate people to be ashamed of America and actually believe that America is the most evil country in the world, not the greatest country in the world. And that's so that then you can turn this country into a socialist or communist or Marxist country. And so now you need to understand the plan. It is not just to buy votes, okay? Their plan is also to say to these universities, keep raising your rates. Keep raising the cost of college because it doesn't really matter because the government is going to pay you back for indoctrinating the individuals that are coming to your school. It is much broader than just buying a vote this time. It's how you change a country. And this goes back to this November. The universities have done their job. They have trained kids to hate America and also to hate Jews. And that means to hate Israel. And that means to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, literally from the river to the sea. This is why they're chanting death to Israel on college campuses right now. And your tax dollars are going to pay for those kids who are chanting death to America and death to Israel. The same kids at Yale. And the video, I put it up there. Please make these students famous. If you want to see what you get out of a Yale education, look at the video of the Yale students taking down the American flag and chanting Viva la Palestine and then cheering when the American flag hits the ground. If you're a parent and you're sending, money to Yale or giving donations to Yale or doing these things, like, you need to see this with your own eyes. And the only way we fight back, the only way we're truly able to fight back is the media is not covering it, is if you and I do it organically. I put it all out there for you. You can see every one of these videos that we've been talking about tonight. But this student loan forgiveness is very clear. This is about, hey, you indoctrinate them and we'll pay for it. You indoctrinate them and we'll pay for it. And then we'll act like the students are on the hook for this. They never really are, right? That's also the signal you're saying, hey, go to college, wink, wink, nod, nod. Who cares? Go to the best liberal school you can find. Don't worry about it. Down the road, you're not going to have to pay for this. Pay the minimums, right? The government will, and then we'll delay your payments, and we'll delay them in the name of COVID, or delay them in the name of the economy's tough right now, or we'll freeze your interest rates. And we'll make it where we subsidize, even through the interest rates, your student loans. Like, that's what they're doing. Like, that's the whole ball game here, folks. And they're getting really, really, really good at it. And we're sitting here with our heads up our rear ends, allowing them. We've allowed them to take over education at all levels. We've allowed them not only to take over education at all levels, we've allowed them to then have you and I pay for the indoctrination of the education that they have taken over. Look how much money we spend on public schooling in general right now. Like, just I'm talking about like elementary, middle, and high school. Look at how much we pay per pupil, and what are we getting? Kids that can't do reading, writing, and arithmetic. And now what do we get? What do you get out of a Harvard degree? What do you get out of a Yale degree? What do you get out of a Columbia degree? Like, for real, what do you get out of it? I used to respect people that went to Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. Now I actually feel sorry for them. I said this earlier. I got 3 boys. There's no chance in hell that any of them are going to go to an Ivy League school if they think I'm going to pay for it. Okay? It's not happening. Like, it will not happen. I want to make that clear. It will not happen. I will not allow it. Now, there's people listening, well, Ben, you can't hold them back. I cannot pay for it. My kids are going to have to tell me when they want to go to college, and I think college at this point may just be completely destroyed in indoctrination by the time they get there. They may not even, I may be saying, I don't want you to go to college. You can make it without college, because college is not what it used to be. College used to be a prerequisite to a better life, and I disagree with that now. I mean, you look at the Nazis preventing the Jewish students from entering University of Vienna. You look at the students at these universities in 2024 doing the same damn thing in America. And the universities are allowing them to block the Jewish students from going in. Why would you send your child to that university? Because the universities, and this goes back to God, Mr. Producer, is there any way you can find the audio of the Harvard, Yale, and MIT when they were testifying about anti-Semitism on college campuses to Congress? Do you remember that when it happened? And it was just so vicious. And this was months ago. And I said it then. Why would anyone send their kid to a university where the president of the universities are refusing to call out anti-Semitism, where they're saying they want to kill Jews? Why would anyone send their child to any one of these universities? What are you thinking? Claudine, that's right. It was Claudine Gay. Remember that? Claudine Gay was the president of Harvard. And what Claudine Gay made it very clear before Congress is like, it's not her job to protect free speech. It's not her job right, to protect the students. And then she tried to claim that she somehow was a victim after her testimony to Congress because she's a black woman, and therefore the evil people were coming after her because she was a black woman. Like, what world are you living in? Claudine Gay was a perfect example. And she, quote, resigned, but didn't really resign. She still got a job. She's still making money. But you look at her testimony to Congress and then all the plagiarism problems that came out, and they still were protecting her. Like, they were still protecting and defending her. The media was all in to protect her. Let me remind you.
What happened to Claudine Gay was mob pressure.
There is this sort of open war on Black progress, Black history. Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, at least up until she resigned, is now the latest casualty of that.
There very much is a racial component.
I don't think it's fair to say all of her critics were racist, but certainly a few of them were.
It looks as though she was targeted. The fact that she's a black woman and the first person who is a black American to lead Harvard only added to their thirst to dethrone her.
Who cares if she, cheated and plagiarized, right? No. She's a black woman. You can't talk about her. Oh, no, you cannot. No, you can't. I mean, Claudine Gay. And then she came out and she's like, well, people came after me, right? Our university, rejects terrorism. She had to come out and say after she refused to denounce the terrorist threats and the anti-Semitic threats against Jewish students. And then when she resigned, she's like, well, I'm resigning in protest. Maybe when you went before Congress, you shouldn't have been such an idiot. But these are the leaders of universities. So, again, why send your kids there? 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. Don't forget, grab my podcast. I do a podcast every day. It's the Ben Ferguson Podcast. It's free. I'd love for you to keep up with me there. And all of the videos I talked about, they're up on social. On Instagram, Ben Ferguson Podcast. On X, Ben Ferguson Show. And Ben Ferguson on Facebook. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mark Levin Show. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. I'm going to make a statement here, and I want you to understand the context for the statement I'm about to make. It's an important one. I want to praise the Patriots owner, Robert Kraft. And I want you to understand that my praise is not political. Because what Robert Kraft did, I don't know Robert Kraft's politics. I really don't. I want to say I think at some point he may have given some money to Trump. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. And it doesn't matter. What Robert Kraft did today, coming out saying he's ending his donations to Colombia due to the anti-Semitic violence. He says it's no longer an institution I recognize. That is not a political statement or a political decision. This is not Republican or Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's a simple issue of right and wrong. And that is why I say job well done to the New England Patriots owner, Robert Kraft, announcing he's cutting Columbia University off and will no longer be donating to the school because the anti-Semitism and hate school officials have allowed to flourish on campus. The billionaire NFL owner noted that he is thankful that Columbia helped him start his adult life with the opportunities it afforded him so many years ago. Still, now the university is no longer an institution he recognizes. And many others should do exactly what he's doing. It was through the full academic scholarship Columbia gave me that I was able to attend college and get my start in life. Kraft wrote, and for that I have been tremendously grateful. However, the school I love so much, the one that welcomed me and provided me with so much opportunity, is no longer an institution I recognize. Kraft added, I'm deeply saddened at the hate that continues to grow on campus and throughout our country. I'm no longer confident that Columbia can protect its students and staff, and I'm not comfortable supporting the university until corrective action is taken. He also said he hopes school officials will rectify the situation, saying, quote, it's my hope that Columbia and its leadership will stand up to this hate by ending these protests immediately. and will work to earn back the respect and trust of many of us who have lost faith in the institution. He said, quote, "It is my hope that in this difficult time, the Kraft Center at Columbia will serve as a source of security and safety for all Jewish students and faculty on campus who want to gather peacefully to practice their religions, to be together, and to be welcomed." Kraft launched the foundation to combat anti-Semitism in 2023 to fight against hate and has been at the forefront of fighting against hate directed at Jews. The hate and threats of violence aimed at Jewish students caused the university to institute remote classes today and to shut down in-person class work. On April the 18th, police arrested more than 100 pro-Palestinian demonstrators, including Representative Ilham Omar's daughter at Columbia, after they set up an encampment on the New York City campus. On Sunday, the White House issued a statement in response to the ongoing anti-Israel protests and encampment taking place at Columbia, describing them as being anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. By the way, you think Biden's going to say that on national TV? No, why would we do that? Instead, the White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates issued a statement over the weekend that most people didn't see, acknowledging that American citizens have the right to peacefully protest, while adding that calls for violence and physical intimidation against the Jewish community are unacceptable. So you think like Columbia would get the message here? No, not at all. In fact, Columbia turned off the key card of a Jewish professor today, locked him out of the university. You want to know why Columbia can do this? Because they got a big enough endowment. They can give 2 middle fingers to Kraft and everybody else and say, no, we can do whatever the hell we want. They also know, by the way, Biden's going to pay off the student loan debt from the students that went to Columbia. So they're going to get paid no matter what.
The new American Revolution starts here. The Mark Levin Show. Call in at 877-381-3811.
You know how they say history repeats itself? You know, if you don't learn from history in the past, it's going to happen all over again. That's exactly what's happening on our college campuses right now. You know how the Nazis were taught to hate the Jews? They were taught by the faculty at universities. They were taught by the government. And the government was taught by the universities because they came through the universities to then become leaders in the government. And this group of Yale students forming a human chain to block a Jewish student from entering the university. You would think like the university would immediately come out, right? Be like, hey, all these kids, we're going to identify them and all of them are going to be kicked out of school. Nah, we haven't had that yet. No. We're going to allow this to happen. Columbia University, nah, we're going to double down. We don't give a crap what you guys say about us. We'll let this encampment happen and the harassment and the assaults on our Jewish students. We don't care. We're going to let it happen. History is repeating itself right now in front of our eyes. Things that we promised would never happen again. Nazis prevented Jewish students from entering in 1938 the University of Vienna with a human chain. And they learned that from their professors. So let's go back, what was it, 6 months ago, Mr. Producer? Claudine Gay, the Harvard professor who, by the way, just like plagiarized the living crap out of everything, apparently, to get the job, then claiming she was a victim because of what she said before Congress, had this to say with Representative Stefanik. So if you want to know how we got to where we are today, all you have to do is listen to this. This was the warning 6 months ago. Here it is.
Dr. Gay, a Harvard student calling for the mass murder of African Americans is not protected free speech at Harvard, correct?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Is that corrected? Is that okay for students to call for the mass murder of African Americans at Harvard? Is that protected free speech?
Our commitment to free speech...
It's a yes or no question. Let me ask you this. You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And there have been multiple marches at Harvard with students chanting, quote, there is only one solution, intifada revolution, and, quote, globalize the intifada. Is that correct?
I've heard that thoughtless, reckless, and hateful language On our campus, yes.
So based upon your testimony, you understand that this call for intifada is to commit genocide against the Jewish people in Israel and globally, correct?
I will say again, that type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Do you believe that type of hateful speech is contrary to Harvard's code of conduct, or is it allowed at Harvard?
It is at odds with the values of Harvard.
Can you not say here that it is against the code of conduct at Harvard?
We embrace a commitment to free expression, even of views that are objectionable, offensive, hateful. It's when that speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies against bullying, harassment,
Does that speech not cross that barrier? Does that speech not call for the genocide of Jews and the elimination of Israel?
Pause. This was the pretext for what we're now witnessing. These universities had pre-planned, and the leadership of these universities had pre-planned to allow what we're witnessing today to happen. The human chain, stopping the Jewish students from being able to go to class, the attacks on the Jewish students, the fleeing of the Jewish students. You need to understand the warning was there 6 months ago when this was happening before Congress. This is when all this was going down. Hit play.
You understand that is the definition of intifada. Is that speech according to the code of conduct or not?
We embrace a commitment to free expression and give a wide berth to free expression, even of views that are objectionable.
You and I both know that's not the case. You are aware that Harvard ranked dead last when it came to free speech. Are you not aware of that report?
As I observed earlier, I reject that characterization.
It's the data shows it's true. And isn't it true that Harvard previously rescinded multiple offers of admissions for applicants and accepted freshmen for sharing offensive memes, racist statements, sometimes as young as 16 years old? Did Harvard not rescind those offers of admission?
That long predates my time as president.
But you understand that Harvard made that decision to rescind those offers of admission.
I have no reason to contradict the facts as you present them.
Correct, because it's a fact. You're also aware that a Winthrop House faculty dean was let go over who he chose to legally represent, correct? That was while you were dean.
That is an incorrect characterization of what transpired.
What's the characterization?
I'm not going to get into details about a personnel matter.
Well, let me ask you this. Will admissions offers be rescinded or any disciplinary action be taken against students or applicants who say, from the river to the sea or intifada, advocating for the murder of Jews?
As I've said, that type of hateful, reckless, offensive speech is personally abhorrent to me.
Today that no action will be taken. What action will be taken?
When speech crosses into conduct that violates our policies, including policies against bullying, harassment, or intimidation, we take action, and we have robust disciplinary processes that allow us to hold individuals accountable.
What action has been taken against students who are harassing and calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus?
I can assure you we have robust
What actions have been taken? I'm not asking.
Actions underway.
I'm asking what actions have been taken against those students.
Given students' rights to privacy and our obligations under FERPA, I will not say more about any specific cases other than to reiterate that processes are ongoing.
Do you know what the number one hate crime in America is?
I know that over the last couple of months, there's been an alarming rise of anti-Semitism, which I understand is the critical topic that we are here to discuss.
That's correct. It is anti-Jewish hate crimes. And Harvard ranks the lowest when it comes to protecting Jewish students. This is why I've called for your resignation. And your testimony today, not being able to answer with moral clarity, speaks volumes.
If you want to know how we got to where we are today, Claudine Gay may have been pushed out. Okay? She may have been. She's still there, though. She's still making a ton of money. She's still indoctrinating kids on college campus. Who cares if she plagiarized a whole bunch of her work? She's still there because she's a quota. And she's a part of the system that hates America and hates Jews. You could see it coming, folks. It was obvious. You could see it coming. This is what they are doing. This is what they're teaching your kids, your grandkids, when you send them to schools. And by the way, it's not just the Ivy Leagues. This is happening all over the country. The money flows in from the anti-Semites. The liberal universities know that they can get these kids in there, and the government's going to back the loans, and then the government's probably going to pay off the loans, which is exactly what's happening right now. And they're all fired up for it, because why wouldn't you be fired up for it? And it's a revolving door of indoctrinating young people to hate America, hate Jews, hate this country, hate what we stand for, hate what we are, so you can fundamentally change it and alter it forever. So you can buy votes of young people by saying, I'm going to pay off your student loan debt. And then the universities can keep going up on the cost of college. So the kids keep coming in and they keep indoctrinating them. These universities, by the way, especially these big Ivy League ones, they've got billion dollar endowments. They could never receive another dime. And because the government loans that are back, that are guaranteed, they don't have to stop indoctrinating. Like the cat's already out of the bag. Like they've already won. The only way you beat them now, okay? The only way you beat them now is by not sending your kids there and exposing them every time you have a chance to expose them. That's it. Let me tell you something else that should scare the living crap out of all you listening. Nearly half, and this is how successful the left has been at indoctrinating Americans to hate this country. Nearly half of Gen Z voters are sympathetic towards Hamas. I didn't say Palestinians. I said towards Hamas, a declared terrorist organization, a declared terrorist organization by the United States and virtually every other major government institution in the world. But nearly half of Gen Zers are sympathetic towards Hamas, and 1/3 do not believe Israel has the right to exist as a nation. This coming from a recent Summit.org RMG research survey. The survey released on the first day of Passover showcased the startling difference between the sentiments of all voters and Gen Z voters specifically, those born between 1997 and 2012. The survey asked respondents, do you believe that Israel's wealth and military power make its campaign against Hamas unjust? Most voters across the board, 58%, said they believe that Israel's campaign is just. But what happens when you go to the younger voters? 21% believe it's unjust. Only 42% of voters 18 to 24 believe Israel's campaign against Hamas is justified. And a plurality of voters aged 18 to 24 believe Israel's campaign against Hamas is wrong. Wow. I've been warning you for years. You can change a country in one generation. You can change a country in one generation, and it's happening right now. You're watching, not in Germany, in America, Jewish students getting harassed trying to leave Columbia's campus. You can hear someone yell, Jews, Jews. They curse and yell, go back to Poland. Anti-Semitism has become the new normal at Columbia University. Another video posted last night on Columbia University's Shabbat are shocking. It looks like people dressed up like actual terrorists. Blatant anti-Semitism. Participants at Columbia University pro-Palestinian protest chants, "Oh, Al-Qassam brigades, you make us proud. Kill another soldier now. Israel will fall. Palestine is Arab." That's what they're chanting at Columbia. Columbia's president, you know what they said? To de-escalate the rancor and give us all a chance to consider next steps, I'm announcing that all classes will be held virtually on Monday. Yes, the terrorists win again. 1-877-381-3811. 1-877-381-3811. Ben Ferguson filling in for the great one. Don't forget, follow me on social. All the videos I talked about tonight are up. Ben Ferguson Show on X. Ben Ferguson Podcast on Instagram. And make sure you download my podcast I do every day, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let me just say first off to you guys are warriors, and thank you for listening and being involved and fighting for this country. I said to Mr. Producer in the break, I feel very sincerely blessed to be able to fill in on this day of Passover for Mark. And I hope I served him well today on the airwaves by spending so much time exposing what's happening on our college campuses. It is important that we fight for this country. And we have to fight by exposing these people on the left. We have to expose them for the Nazis that many of them are. And I say that and I mean it. That's not hyperbole. When you're doing what the Nazis did to the Jewish people on college campuses today, I just posted another video and I want you to see these are Nazis. That's what they are. Go look at the video I just posted a moment ago of what's happening right now as these major battles are happening at New York University. The, quote, liberated zone encampments temps the police are trying to remove them, and the Nazis are fighting back as they're trying to, quote, clear out the protesters. These aren't protesters. These are anarchists. These are terrorists. You know, I mean, if we're going to call parents that go to school board meetings terrorists when they defend their kids at school board meetings, remember the FBI put them on the terrorist watch list? If we're going to go and spy on traditional Catholics, that's what our government did, and treat them like terrorists, then why don't we actually treat people that are terrorists, right? These people that are doing these things, chanting death to America, death to Israel, and pointing signs at the people they want to be murdered next at the hands of Hamas, then why not put them on the list too? The left never will, of course. But this needs to be a wake-up moment and make all of these people famous. All these professors, all these university presidents, all of these students, let the world see who they are. Shine light on their evil rhetoric. We didn't have social media. Social media is a blessing and a curse. We did not have social media. And I used to believe that if we did have social media, the Holocaust could have never happened in the way that it did. I'm not saying that Hitler wouldn't have killed Jews, but exterminating millions of Jews, the way that he was able to do it, I believe that there was social media that could not have happened. I'm now not so sure. I may be naive to think that. But this is a moment where your phone can be extremely powerful to expose what the Democratic Party is advocating for and supporting, what George Soros is advocating for and supporting, what the Democratic Party is advocating for and supporting, but also being silent on it. Grab all of this and just put it out into the world so they can see what the media is not showing you, because the media is not going to show you this. The media will cover this up. They don't want you to know what is happening in America today. These are the same people that will tell you that the economy is great and Bidenomics is working when the average American it takes them $20,000 more than it did in 2019 to pay for the same living, the same lifestyle that they're doing right now. And they're like, oh, man, this Bidenomics is working great. These are the same scumbags. They're state-sponsored communist media. That's what they are. The View won't call out the anti-Semites. ABC, NBC, CBS will not call them out. CNN will not call them out. There are very few people left fighting the good fight. You guys are in it. Tonight's a night that we go on offense. Tonight is the night that we make these people famous and we expose them. Take everything that's out there and share it with the world. Don't just listen, get in the game. It's been a privilege being with you tonight. I'd love to keep up with you. Grab my podcast, the Ben Ferguson Podcast. God bless all of you. Mark will be back with you tomorrow.